Hey guys, today we have something super special, well, to me at least. This is the X-Pro3. So I think it's safe to say that everyone already knows how polarizing this design is with the hidden LCD screen in the back. Today I just wanted to give you my perspective on the design and why I think this is an amazing camera. So I would say the X-Pro3 aesthetic is generally geared for people who are into simplicity and quality. As you can see on the back here, there's really not that many buttons. There's a couple dials at the top, and then on the front there's also a couple of controls that you can customize. And actually you can customize pretty much all of the buttons on this camera. So what Fuji was able to do was they were able to make a really simple camera that you could pick up and just start shooting and get really great results, while also giving you the ability to customize this camera and really make it your own. You can definitely tell that they were really intentional about the amount of control options that you have on the camera body, as well as the button placement. Everything is really comfortable to use, and it seems to be in just the right place. So the Fuji X-Pro3 comes in 3 different designs. There's a standard black, Dura Black, and a Dura Silver. All 3 cameras are made out of titanium, and the Dura Black and the Dura Silver have a coating on it that makes it scratch resistant. Personally, I like the Dura Black more than the Dura Silver and the black finish. If you get this finish, you'll definitely notice that your fingerprints will get on it more and kind of smudge on the titanium material, but I don't really care about that. I kind of like the worn look that it gives the camera. I also really like that this camera is more scratch resistant than the basic black model. Compared to the X-Pro2, this camera also has better weather sealing. So that is definitely a big plus for me, since I love to shoot out in the snow and the rain. So just like the previous X-Pro models that came before this, you're getting a relatively small camera body size that you can also pair with high quality small primes like the 23 f2 and the 35 f2. And those prime lenses are awesome because they are also weather sealed. Now the lens I'm using with it right now is a old vintage Super Takumar 50mm 1.4. I decided to use my old manual vintage lenses with this camera for a while before I purchased any of the Fuji lenses. I used to shoot with an X-Pro2 with a 23mm f2 lens on it, and I love that setup just because it was so small. There's definitely something to be said about having a small camera, just because I know personally I'm more willing to take it wherever I go just because it's not much of a burden. When I used to have a Fuji X100F, I took that camera everywhere just because it actually did fit in a lot of my jacket pockets. I think that this camera is designed for people who find value in the entire process of taking a picture. And that process includes everything from the user experience to the actual image quality that you get. Shooting with a beautiful camera, which I do understand is subjective, and getting beautiful results is naturally going to be more reinforcing than if you are shooting with a camera that you're just not as excited about. And like I was saying before, the simplicity of the ergonomics on this camera, as well as the premium feel of the materials that they used, really adds to the motivation for shooting with this camera. So like I said before, currently I'm only using this vintage Super Takumar 50mm 1.4 lens with this Fuji X-Pro3. I haven't felt the need to shoot with anything else right now because I'm having a lot of fun just using this manual focus lens. If you watch any of my other YouTube videos, you know that I have invested in the Canon mirrorless system. So I have other cameras and lenses that will really just get the job done and provide me with high quality results in a really quick manner. But the thing of it is that they're not nearly as fun to shoot with as this camera. The high quality focus peaking on this camera, in conjunction with the other manual focus assist features, not to mention the really clear EVF and back panel screen, make it really easy to use manual focus lenses. And I think what's really appealing about this camera is that the feature set goes way beyond what the targeted audience for this camera really require. I thought it was really awesome that in the middle of having a very kind of analog experience with this camera and the vintage lens on it, that I could, put it into movie mode and shoot, full HD at 120 frames per second and get really high quality video. It also has 4K in it, which I don't really use, so maybe one day. Also, the fact that it has 11 frames per second with a mechanical shutter, that's way more than I need. And I think it's cool that if I ever wanted to buy like the 100 to 400 millimeter, I could get decent wildlife shots with this camera. Personally, I like the hybrid viewfinder. There are some situations where I like using the optical viewfinder more than the EVF. For instance, if I'm shooting in low light, I usually set it to the OVF just because it's a little bit easier on my eyes. Also, if I'm using a smaller prime lens like a 23 millimeter or a 35 millimeter, I like to use the OVF with that. And for the photographers out there that want more control over the image quality and the settings that they have in the camera, as well as the control customization options, this camera will let you do all of that. So like I said, I think that this camera is for anyone who is really into the process of taking a picture rather than just getting the results. I really think it's a perfect mix of what made shooting film so rewarding and all of the modern technology that we have today. Every year we have smartphones that continue to evolve in the area of computational photography. We're almost to the point where you can handhold your smartphone up to the night sky and get a pretty decent picture of the Milky Way, which is really amazing. Also, with computational photography, you can get a really detailed image of a shot with a really small sensor. You can also mimic the out-of-focus rendering of modern portrait lenses with pretty good results. I'm really happy that Fuji came out with a camera that sort of forces you to slow down and really enjoy the process of taking a picture. This old vintage lens was a lens that my grandfather passed down to me. He used to use this lens a lot for portrait work, and what he would do is he would set up the portrait, take the picture, and then paint the picture for his clients. Now, this definitely isn't the best lens in the world, and as we all know, with some of the vintage lenses, they don't have all of the modern lens coatings that we have today. But even though this is far from the best lens that I have, I definitely feel the most connected to this lens, and I think that that's also what this camera body does for me, is it allows me to connect with my gear and really enjoy the process of actually taking a picture. We've definitely been at the point for many years now where we can purchase a camera that we could use for professional and personal use for a pretty affordable price. And while it's awesome that we have so many different options for the type of camera gear that we use, I think it's really cool that Fuji went for something different here and really made a unique camera in terms of user experience. So the bottom line is that you don't have to like this camera. If it's not for you, you know right away. And if it is for you, you also know right away. I think that Fuji understands that in a world where we are always trying to focus on efficiency and obtaining quicker results, you begin to miss out on everything that you get from the process of getting to a certain point. I think that understanding how you get to a certain point is really valuable, and the knowledge that you gain from the mistakes that you make is really important. I kind of see it the same way as the experience of climbing a mountain yourself, or just looking at that scenic experience online somewhere from someone who actually did climb it. I'm fortunate enough to have some adventurous friends, so I've had the chance to do some backpacking. While it was the thought of those scenic spots that kind of motivated me to explore in the first place, it wasn't until later that I realized that the process of actually getting there was what meant the most to me. So I think what I'm getting at here is that In the same way that you can learn a lot about yourself when you're hiking 30 plus miles, I also think that you can learn a lot about yourself as a photographer if you are more mindful about the process. So definitely let me know what you guys think about this camera in the comments below. I'm super curious to see what you guys think. And along with that, let me know if you have actually used the camera as well. As always, I'll leave you guys with some sample images that I've gotten with this combo right here. So that's the Super Takumar 50mm 1.4 plus the X-Pro3. If you like the content, please subscribe and like the video to help me out. Thanks.